So the goal today is really to talk about the key programming of the Association of Haitian Women in looking at healthy communities and strategies that are empowering through our work, and also what can you do to help with the movement, with the initiative. It's like, okay, so the mission, we were founded back in 1988, and we started out as a study group. It was called GRIFA, Group Études from Haïtien, Haitian Women Study Group. And soon afterwards, there was really a situation in our community that really required for us to get involved in trying to change certain realities of women. So that's why we ended up changing the name to the Association of Haitian Women. And we have as our mission to really help women and to develop their individual and collective capacities, that not only in looking at their social needs, economic, also political as well, so they can change not only their individual realities, but also the collective. And I love the fact that the focus on we, to be more inclusive. I think very often when we do social justice work, it's never about one individual. When you do the work, whether you start an initiative, it's all about the collective good. So our work always, as we work with individual women, we also look at how can they not only acquire the skill sets necessary to change their realities, but how can they continue with the work to change our societies for the social economic justice that we seek on a daily basis. Now, we were founded in 1988. And soon afterwards, we launched this housing program back in 1991, and we founded the housing program we call CAFAM. It has double meaning for us. It's the home of Haitian women in Massachusetts, and it's also women's condition. In Haitian Creole, we say ka, which is condition, and femme, which is women. So it's women's condition. So we have, that made it possible for us to stay alive because our budget is very small. So we have affordable housing for low-income working families, and we have 6 units. And in that space, we have a community setting where we can do the intimate partner violence direct service, and we do a lot of prevention on sexual assault, primarily domestic violence, but sexual assault as well. And of course, adult education, immigration stuff, youth empowerment work. Now, since we said key programming from the get-go, from the beginning, key programming is domestic violence. We started collecting data back in 1991, and since 1991, we have 22 women who were murdered as a result of domestic violence in the Boston area. So that's why the focus is domestic violence, and we do intervention, prevention. We work with families, we do case management, we do presentation, not only in the Haitian community, but also we work with different organizations, tons of coalition work. Some we started, some we joined, a lot of partnership work as well. So this is coming, the stat you see here on my screen is coming from Gender Inc. As you can see, the murders as a result of domestic violence did increase. 2017, you have 19 murders, 2018, you had 15, and 27 in 2019. Interestingly enough, what you see, this is continued from Gender Inc. Gender Inc. is the National Coalition on Domestic Violence for the Massachusetts, for the state of Massachusetts. So women we have 14 deaths in terms of women, 17 men, 13 for 2020. 2019, we had 17 women, but we had 2 men. And 2020, we had 13 and 1. I have a lot of information, so I'll try to go fast so we can pose questions at the end. One thing that we need to stress on, we've always had challenges as a Black immigrant women's organization that's doing a lot of different multiple action in terms of not doing the awareness about what's happening in the schools, what happens with discrimination at work, but our key programming, but also looking at what's happening in terms of how Haitian folks are being treated as they arrive here, or some of the unfair foreign affairs that are happening in terms of challenges that are happening with the US and Haiti. So 2019 hits, we have COVID-19, and here we will see tremendous challenges. You know, we had a lot of deaths in the Haitian community in the greater Boston area. We had a lot in Mattapan. We had a lot of deaths in the Haitian community in New York and also in Florida, especially New York. New York was just incredibly difficult for the community. So here we saw an increase of 176% in terms of the calls to domestic violence cases from 2019 to 2020. We're gonna move on, and I'll quickly brush on some of the challenges, but they are way more than what we see here on the screen. 30% of our clients lost their jobs because of the pandemic. 95% of our clients could not access any services because they didn't have the technology or the language. And we had 100% of our undocumented clients, which is, I would say, close to 90% or higher of our client population, could not access government benefits, government reliefs that were very much a need during the pandemic. So again, there's the digital divide that we can repeat over and over again. So not only the clients had more difficulties, so our advocate really had tremendous challenge in working with the clients, and they put in more time, very stressful, burned out situation. But we also had the digital divide in terms of classes that reduced drastically. We had people who had to stop because they didn't have technology. Some didn't have the telephones. They didn't have Wi-Fi services, online services, and also they had to take care of the younger ones, whether it be their children or their grandchildren. So, in a nutshell, we can continue to do the same that we had done over the years, although more difficult challenges arise. We continue to work with people for immigration relief, and we do vow petitioning, especially with victims of domestic violence. We continue to help with benefits for those who have work permits and other type of status. Not all of our population is undocumented, but a good percentage, high percentage is undocumented. Help them with adequate housing. And I say adequate housing, shelter. We face discrimination also in the shelters. We help with legal assistance, information, translation, etc. We do work with law enforcement, but very, very carefully, because law enforcement can be a major problem, but we also see value, especially in regards to prosecuting people who are victims of domestic violence or sexual assault. And I will say some of our DV folks, domestic violence survivors, some very few prosecute their perpetrators, but for sexual assault, we have not had one who prosecuted, no matter how bad, whether it be gang rape, whether it be young or older people, we have not have that success in our community. So yes, we do work with other service providers, immigrant attorneys, shelters, etc. We do offer other programs in regards to adult education, youth empowerment, housing, etc. We move on. It's 34 years of women and community empowerment. It's to collective work. It's having the structure in place for women to acquire necessary skills for them to make gainful improvement in their lives, to get get jobs and take care of their families and to know what their rights are, whether it be done through the domestic violence prevention work, adult education, ESL literacy classes, financial literacy, economic literacy. We have whole town hall meetings on COVID-19 and other community meetings on different things. And we linked a lot of different places to Boston Medical Center for clinics. We had a lot of clinics so that they can really get vaccinated and be able to go about their healthcare needs. So I will just try to conclude by saying that for a healthy community, it's important to start with the individual in terms of the necessary needs for them to be able to survive, whether it has to do with that safety, the health care, whether it has to do with the housing, the economic peace. Those are essential things, very essential things that are needed in our communities. And we see a lot of, if you will, we see a lot of hidden things. With the pandemic, we knew challenges existed, but there's another layer that was revealed in regards to some of the police brutality, some of the inegalities or inequities that exist in our societies, and health remains one of the major ones. And you saw what happening with the beginning with some of the vaccine for COVID-19, some of the pills for COVID-19. It's not only about the financial capacity, it's who you know. So you have a lot of these challenges. So we, at our end, highlight some of these challenges, but we also think it's important for us to continue with the work with the domestic violence and sexual assault, for the women's safety, for the children's safety. We do plan on starting a sexual assault direct service with a planning grant, we hope, from OVW. We also plan on turning our 6 units into 30 units of affordable housing. And not that we have a clear plan. We do have preliminary drawings, and we hope that we will get some help to get this happen soon. We are a small group of Haitian women, but we are very determined. We don't take money just like that. It's all about what works for us. And we also want to be very much on top of the game. So we don't want people to be telling us what to do. It's what's best for our clients. That's what's best for us as a group, as an entity, but also in the work, the way we do the work. It's not about what we think is best for our clients. It's giving them the information and they decide what is best for them. We never tell anyone to live in an abusive relationship. We share the resources and see what do you think is best for you today. It may be a week someone leave. It could be 10 years later someone's leaving. But it's how do you also give the necessary skills so they can keep themselves safe, whether they decided to leave today or leave in a month or 10 years. So networking is essential. We will continue to work in partnership with Action for Equity, that's really looking at how do we get more Black people, immigrant people, women in some of the life science field. Wonderful positions. I think it's projected for Boston to have close to 50,000 jobs in life sciences, if it's not more. And also Boston Medical Center did get this big grant from Chase, and they are trying to see if they could help with some of the more economic empowerment or economic education skills that people need to really help they just move along the line so they can not get more living wages and also improve their housing conditions. But in closing, what we want to say is that while it's extremely important, the work that all of us do in helping women to empower themselves, helping women to be able to take care of their families, I think it's essential for all of us to think, again, the we. It's not about one person. It's not about one family. How do we continue to work together. So I hear how you can help. Now, questions? I'm sorry, I will look at the chat now.
Yeah, we thank you so much. Thank